Hello everybody, and welcome to a Wildstar video? Question mark? So the first thing I'm here to say is that I'm back to playing Wildstar. The second thing, and most important thing I'm here to say is I'm not trying to get you to play Wildstar. Alright, this isn't a recruitment video. This isn't me going, you should go play. But what I will say is they have a 10-day trial now, so if you're at all interested in trying something new, then by all means, go try it out. Because it doesn't matter what I say. If you like the game or don't like the game, that's on you. That's, you know, I can't make you like a game. I can't make you not like a game, but I can certainly lead you to a spot where you're able to make that decision for yourself. So why am I back to making, or playing the game rather? Why am I back to making the game? Because I'm a designer? No, because of many reasons actually, and I will get to those. We have a minor story time involved even, and you know, what to expect as far as content, which is minimal. Yeah, I just wanted to say that in hindsight, I probably should have communicated what had happened in the past when I started playing Wildstar, and I never did. So it's story time. Let's take it back. So when the game was in beta, I made a lot of videos. I made something like 27 videos over the course of 2 days that I had access to the beta, and I put those all out over the course of like 2 weeks. We were releasing like 3 videos a day or something. It was awesome actually. It was fun to make those videos. I know it was a lot of work, but it definitely put a lot of information out there for anybody who was interested in Wildstar before it came out. And then the game launched, and I was super freaking excited for it. I stayed up for launch. I played non-stop as much as I could. I bursted my way to 50. I was one of a handful of people on our server when it launched to hit 50 first. I also, you know, played with a ton of other friends. They took a while longer to get to 50 because they had jobs and stuff to go through, you know. Jobs, that doesn't, excuses. I mean, I manned up and I played a lot, but the queues at launch were terrible. You're talking like a couple-hour queue on average. A lot of people wanted to get in and try this game. They were excited to play it, and there just wasn't enough servers and enough bandwidth to let them in. Basically, the straw was too tiny, and they couldn't get enough through. It was like a really kind of thick frozen milkshake, and you're trying to, like, you know, drink it, but it's just not going to happen. That was like the queues for Wildstar. In fact, it was so bad at one point when I went and taught my usual like bi-weekly drum lessons that I do with my students. While during drum lessons, had a log me into my PC kind of thing on my iPad. Logged me into Wildstar just to get in queue, so that way when I got home, I would have just gotten out of queue and be ready to play, and it worked out perfectly for me. But that shouldn't have happened. Launch was kind of miserable. Then the game went on, and I was still really enjoying myself, really loved it. But people started dropping out, as was to be expected. You know, if people are going to play an MMO, they're going to need to invest a lot of time into it, and especially people who were just trying Wildstar out for launch. You know, they get to max level, they try a few dungeons, and maybe they were done. You know, there was various reasons why people left the game, just like there are for any MMOs. And it was a lot of fun when I was, you know, doing dungeons, and the little experience that I had in the raids I really, really liked. In fact, I remember making videos and being super hyped. I was like, this is going to be like the game for me. Like, this is the end game that I wanted out of an MMO, and I mean, it still is. Let's be honest. That hasn't changed. The end game of this MMO is the best, in my opinion. And then the people that I played with, like such as Garrick and stuff, they left mostly due to, you know, time commitments, real life issues, stuff like that, because being a hardcore raider does require a lot of time, and unfortunately the time that we were putting in, we weren't getting anything back because our guild wasn't progressing. I was under the assumption that I was joining and, you know, to a certain extent, I was joining a really experienced group of people in a guild who was going to get some raiding done, and our goal was to be server first, and we had the capacity to do that. But we just kept losing people because we had like a handful of people that weren't very good, and they were really holding the progress of the rest of the group back. 'Cause you had to attune to be able to raid, which means you had to do like a process in order to even raid, and getting those people who weren't very good attuned was painful, to say the least. And because of that, our guild ended up dissolving. I had nobody to play with, and I stopped playing. That was about October of last year, 2014. And then I picked it back up in November. I picked Wildstar back up in November because that was when I did this, you know, the Shadow of Revan stuff, and I had the itch to play another MMO. So I jumped back into Wildstar. At that point, I was subscribed up until 2 weeks ago, in fact. And funny story about that, which we'll get to. And then, you know, after November, I stopped playing because I was just like, well, it seems like the game is still waiting for a patch to come. That was promised, you know, a month ago when I stopped playing, and it still hasn't come, so I'm just going to keep waiting. And then recently, and this is where that little funny part comes in, recently, a couple people who I used to play Star Wars with, they used to raid with us, and they were really good, sent me a message on Steam, and they were like, you know what, we just got done playing Arcade, we had a lot of fun with it, but we're looking for something new. What can you tell us about Wildstar? Because I know that you played it. So I gave them a lot of information, and in answering their questions, it made me want to play the game again, of course. And I knew that since then, a lot of updates have happened to the game. So I jumped back in, excited to play, and I realized, oh, my subscription ended 2 weeks ago. So I couldn't play. But that's when I got even more excited, because I realized that they had added the 10-day trial, and if you had already purchased the game, if you were already a subscriber, your trial has no restrictions. It's a 10-day trial, sure, but in those 10 days, you have 10 days to get enough in-game gold to get a cred, which is basically you buy your subscription with currency. And that may sound familiar to some of you, because WoW just added that. It's not a system that is unique or new. It's a really good system, in fact, but it's been around a while. Wildstar took its own take on it, and then WoW literally took that exact same take that Wildstar had and just pulled it and put it in their own game, which I'm not, you know, I'm not saying like WoW stole it, but they totally stole the idea. Is that wrong? No, because it's a really good system. I'm glad WoW did it, because it made WoW a better game for it. Because I think the cred system in Wildstar is one of the most unique things about it, which is that, you know, a person buys a subscription, a cred, you know, quote unquote, for $20, and then they can sell it. And then the people who are playing a lot, have a lot of money, can buy that. And if they don't have a lot of money in real life, then they can, you know, fund their game through just playing it, which is really good, because then the people who have a lot of money in real life, but don't have a lot of time, could get the amount of gold that they need to be able to continue playing. And then, likewise, Carbine, or, you know, if you even think of this in the Blizzard case, they make more money because that subscription that is normally $15 is $20 with the cred, and that person who bought the cred to sell it for gold, I hope you're following this, actually typically buys also their subscription. So instead of paying $15 a month, that person is paying $35 a month. So on average, if WoW or Wildstar had half of the player base paying for their subscription using the system, then they're making more money, because on average they're making $5 more per person. All right, so they're making a lot more money. Anyways, so I got a cred. I played for about an hour, went through my inventory, sold a ton of stuff, had way more than enough money in the game to buy a cred. So I did, and now I'm resubscribed, and I bought several since then, so now I'm resubscribed for several months. So why am I back, and why am I playing it? Well, first of all, and that was story time done. First of all, having people to play with is really, really important in an MMO, which is why I was saying that I'm not trying to convince you to play the game. But if you're interested in it, there is a 10-day trial, right? Because I can't promise that I'll be on to play with other people, and I can't promise that you'll find a guild in the time that you play to play with other people. The game does have a lot of people coming back, which is really good. It's important. It's good for the game. And a lot of that is because there's good stuff being said about it, such as this game is now where it should have been. because they've redesigned how the end game gearing works. The game runs a lot better than it used to. It's just a lot of good stuff. The game is polished now. It launched kind of shakily. The launch wasn't bad. It was just long queues, and it was hard to, you know, get things done in the end game because the process was long. And since then, they fixed that. It's way better now. And there's like a new PvP patch coming up, which is rad. But they made it more accessible, right? So that's like the main thing. They took like the 40-man raid that they had. They launched with 2 raids. They were 2 separate raids. One was a 20-man raid, which geared you up to get into the 40-man raid because they wanted people to do 40-mans. But they realized very quickly that guilds weren't able to hold enough people to do a 40-man guild, and the ones that were getting burnt out pretty quickly because the raids aren't easy. And in order to schedule 40 people, you know, a couple times a week to really hardcore push that kind of stuff, it wears down on people. I know that very well from playing old school WoW, and it's really hard to maintain that. So they took the 40-mans and they brought them down to 20-mans, which is great because now there's just a 20-man to a 20-man, so they already have 2 raids, and they've got another one on the PTR right now, which is going to be coming. So they've got content down the pipe, you know. They're not like content starved here. They've got stuff to do, which is another reason that I've come back, because now I have stuff to do that I didn't before. There's, you know, new dungeons. They added what you're seeing in the background, which are the veteran ship hands. They already had ship hands, which are like a single-player dungeon, but if you brought people with you, it would scale, and you can kind of do it with other people, which is a lot of fun. I like that system in MMOs. So I've been doing these because it's the most efficient way to farm gold, because you just do like your daily ship hand mission, or you can just go through and get them done, and it's a lot of fun. It's an easy way to farm money. So that's another reason why I came back, because now I have something to do. I have people to play with. And I have a game that I already enjoyed. You know, when I left Wildstar, you remember I didn't say that I left it because I didn't like the game anymore. I left it because I didn't have anybody to play with. And that's a big factor, because the game is still good. I truly, truly believe that this game is one of the best on the market as far as MMOs are concerned. It's got better combat than any MMO out there, in my opinion. You could try that out for yourself if you don't believe me. It has incredible amounts of character, you know, just spades of character. It's got an incredibly well written world. I like the world that it's in, the universe rather. And generally, there's just something about it that is just fun. Like WoW has that factor where they've got their serious sides, but then they have it's just something there that's just like fun and quirky about it. And Wildstar's got that same thing. You might say that they have very similar art styles. I would argue it's actually quite different. Yeah, it's a static, you know, polygon with a texture thrown over it. Congratulations, you ran into most games, but the textures thrown over happen to be hand painted. So therefore, it looks like WoW. Like I don't think it looks like WoW at all. I think it's got a lot more color, but I think that 2 separate games, right? 2 very separate games, in my opinion, as far as aesthetic is concerned. But I really do like the aesthetic as well. So it's just like all these things that add up that make me really like the game. And finally, I can play it again. Because once again, I got people, I've got things to do, and I have a reason to log on. So therefore, I have a reason to subscribe. If I, you know, in 3 months don't feel like I have anything else to do, then I'm not going to feel pressured to play the game anymore. That's the way I am with MMOs now. My time is limited, and I see my time as precious. I'm a busy person. So, especially for me, in the time right now, where I'm playing a lot of Diablo, to still daily log in to Wildstar, do a few things here and there, not because I need to, but because I want to. It's a big difference there. Like, I remember times in WoW, especially with the Sunwell, when that came out, doing the dailies during Burning Crusade, I remember very specifically logging on because I needed to get more money to do, you know, hardcore raiding, not because I wanted to. And I think this is the first time in a long time, and I mean that even happened with Star Wars more recently, but this is the first time in a long time where I've had a game, again, that I feel like I want to log into because I'm having fun with it. The combat, again, does a good job of carrying a lot of that fun factor. So yeah, it's just all these things working together that have brought me back into Wildstar, which have made me interested in other MMOs. Like, I know this upcoming weekend there's going to be this Elder Scrolls Online, like, welcome back thing since they've gone free to play, and I'm interested in that. Speaking of free to play, I know people will ask, do you think Wildstar should go free to play? Because currently it's you buy the game and then you pay a subscription. I don't think it should. I have a feeling it will. It has a good model behind it in the fact that there's a lot of cosmetic stuff in the game that you can get. Like the sword that I'm using right now is a cosmetic thing. It's a very different sword underneath that skin. I feel like they could make a lot of money off of an in-game shop. I feel like they can have a better in-game shop than even Star Wars, and theirs is pretty good. Do I feel like it should go free to play? No, because I think the game is already free to play. Or buy to play. So you get the game, you get your first 30-day subscription. In that amount of time, you could easily get enough money to buy a cred, which would then get you another month to have even more time to buy another cred, and then so on and so forth. And it snowballs out of control. As long as you're playing the game, you're going to be able to pay to play the game. And I like that system. So I feel like the game is already there, but people just don't, like, they don't put two and two together that they could play this game for completely free as long as they just put in, like, a couple hours a week to do, a few ship hands and stuff. So yeah, it's just a good game. And I'm really excited to be back to playing it. Why did I make a video on this? Because I like to keep you guys updated on this kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm going to try out Elder Scrolls on this, like, free weekend coming up. Because, I'm playing an MMO again, may as well see what else is out there as well. Because that's just the way my brain works. I always like to see what else I could be playing at the moment. And I crushed that game pretty hard at launch. I did not like that game. So we'll see if it changed. Games change and they get better. A game doesn't... It's not cursed forever if you didn't like it the first time. And I think that's a really good way to put Wildstar. If you had a bad experience with Wildstar, or, more importantly, you heard what I consider nonsense coming out of people saying that it was a bad game, then I feel like those people were either preconceived to think that, based on what other people were already telling them, which is unfortunate that people are so impressionable, in my opinion. Yeah, have an opinion for yourself, in my opinion. And, they just had either a bad experience with the queue thing, which I totally understand. I really do. But I think that now's the time to try it again. And if you were interested in it before and you never got a chance to getting around to playing it, your computer could probably run it now because they've updated the game to run a bit better, which is nice. But generally, I feel like now's the time to come back. If you were interested, even if it's for the 10 days, then you can give it up. You're not hurting yourself if you only play for 10 days. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not trying to convince you to come back. I was just giving an option. I like to, even on Twitter, I like to say things like, hey, this game is on sale. You may like it, you may not. Just letting you know. This is one of those, like, PSA things. Wildstar has a 10-day trial. If you're really bored this week because you can't afford Grand Theft Auto 5, or you're not playing Diablo 3, or you're not playing Heroes of the Storm, then I understand, and you should go entertain yourself with the 10-day trial because you've got nothing to lose. And in particular, you might have a little bit of fun, which is the most important part. So with that, I'm going to get back to my MMO rounds, see what I can do. Might be good, might be bad. We'll find out as I go. And I'm really looking forward to it. So with that, we'll see you guys next time.